I've learned a money management system from an American guy which had 7 pots. That was quite complicated. What you're learning today is a simplified Islamic version. How are you supposed to manage the money that comes into your account every month? There are 2 types of people. When it comes to money, the first kind that we have, spenders. The people who are not spenders but are savers. So I'm going to give you the solution. And the solution is this. There's going to be school fees, holidays, a lot of stuff in here. It is absolutely imperative that each individual has what we call an emergency fund. Now, unfortunately, 95% of people watching this video right now probably don't have an emergency fund. But until this is done, you have to be a man on a mission. If it has to be 80%, make it 80. If it has to be 75%, make it 75. But you need to make sure that there is a little bit left over here as well. Once you've done all of this and there's money left over, now we can think about investing. And here also I like to include education. Who want to go far in life, they always invest in themselves. This is level 1. This is how a Muslim manages his money. So a mu'min, a believer, how should he manage his money? It's actually a little bit different. So this session is about how to manage money properly as a Muslim. But before we go there, and the reason why this session is powerful is because there's so much conflicting information out there about how are you supposed to manage the money that comes into your account every month. Some people say this percentage should go into savings, this percentage should go into investments, this percentage should go into... It's so much out there. And I'm going to actually give you a framework derived from the maqasid of Sharia and ahadith. But before we do that, I need you to understand that there are 2 types of people. When it comes to money, there are predominantly 2 kinds of people. The first kind that we have is spenders, and I categorize myself under that, and this is a natural inclination. A spender, and as you hear listening to this, see if you can relate. A spender is somebody who doesn't think twice before purchasing something. Very, very easy to do an impulse buy. That happens very, very often. Doesn't like checking his balance too much. Avoids opening bills and letters and things like that. Doesn't keep track of their bank statements, what's happening, what's coming in, what's going out. Sometimes ends up spending more than we should. We find ourselves sometimes in situations where we might even need to borrow because we've gone over what we should have done. So a spender has some benefits, but he also has some problems with it. Obviously, the benefits are that, we enjoy life, we make good use of our hard-earned money, we like to do experiences, we like to treat our family, all of those wonderful things. The problem with being a spender is you're quite likely to get into debt. You probably never build enough savings. You may not even have an emergency fund, and you're likely to experience a lot of stress and anxiety when it comes to money. So the management system I'm going to share today is going to help with all of that. Not only that, it's also going to help the people who are not spenders but are savers. Okay? Savers. These are individuals who don't like spending, like to save as much as possible. They're very good at delaying purchases, delaying decisions, really analyzing and over engineering every bit of in any big amount of spending. They sometimes deprive themselves from holidays, experiences, nice clothes, because they have an inclination to build their savings. So their bias is towards saving rather than spending. So again, there's some pros and cons to being a saver. If you're a saver, amazing. You will have savings. You will have a strong financial, let's say, cushion. You'll be able to, if you can get yourself to invest, you will actually have something to invest, unlike the spenders who want to invest but have nothing to invest with. You probably have less money problems and stress in the long run. The cons, however, is that you are maybe denying yourself certain things that are normal for others. Maybe you are denying yourself experiences, holidays, treats, meals out. You're always calculating how to minimize spending, which then obviously also can minimize your quality of life. So now you will find yourself in one of these two. And the point I'm trying to make is it's not good to be in any one of those two. So I'm going to give you the solution. And the solution is this. The solution is having a system that helps you save, helps you spend, helps you enjoy your money, helps you have money to go on holiday, helps you have money to give to charity, helps you to have money to put into investments. The system will take care of everything. There will be no stress, there will be no guilt, there will be no worries, and there will be no anxiety. So here it is. So Islamically, there's certain things that as a person who earns money, that you're working and you're earning money, there's certain responsibilities that we have placed upon us from the Sharia. So whether, and this obviously applies predominantly to the breadwinner, the man in the house, or if both spouses are working, this applies. That the first category, and we're gonna do this for now. The first category is family. We are responsible for providing for our families, for providing the necessities that our families require. So shelter, food, clothing, and obviously within there we can add other things, which is obviously bills. There's going to be school fees, there's going to be holidays, there's going to be a lot of stuff in here. So let's say everything that comes in to your bank account when you get paid, 50% of that should go to your family. Like I said, this is rent, bills, things like holidays, savings for your family. So let me talk about this for a second. Savings. It is absolutely imperative that each individual has what we call an emergency fund. That is 3 to 6 months of expenses. So if your income completely stopped today, the emergency fund can help you get through 3 to 6 months without a sweat. Now, unfortunately, 95% of people watching this video right now probably don't have an emergency fund. So it's very important that we, for the sake of our families, and trust me, I learned this the hard way. I've learned this the hard way. For the sake of our family, we want to have an emergency fund. Number one. Once you've got your emergency fund of 3 months of expenses, 6 months of expenses, then you can start thinking about saving, then you can start thinking about holidays, then you can start thinking about eating out, then you can start thinking about investing. But until this is done, you have to be a man on a mission. You have to have your emergency fund, and that comes under savings. So I'm going to put food here as well. Now, there's 2 more categories, and we like to keep this simple. I've learned a money management system from an American guy which had 7 pots. That was quite complicated. What we're showing here today, what you're learning today, is a simplified Islamic version. The next category, and we're going to go like this, that the Sharia, in terms of priority, then it's yourself. And by the way, the hadith says that the best dinar a man can spend is on his family. The best form of charity a man can do is spending on his own family. So that's number 1. After that, if there's money left over, and by the way, some of you are probably looking at this 50% thinking that actually what I earn, 50% is not enough to cover all of this. No problem, adjust the percentage. If it has to be 80%, make it 80. If it has to be 75%, make it 75. But you need to make sure that there is a little bit left over here as well. So the percentages, choose them based on your situation. What I'm showing you here It's just for example purposes. Ideally, it would be fantastic if your household income was double what your family needs. That would be great. But not every family is in that situation. So just adjust the numbers and the percentages. The second one is money that you get to spend on yourself. What does this mean? Once you've done all of this and there's money left over, now we can think about investing. Now we can think about play. What do I mean by play? I can finally get that nice car that I wanted. I can finally get that really nice suit that I've been wanting to get for a long time. I can now finally go on a trip with my cousins. Finally, let's go Umrah together. Now you can spend on yourself, inshallah. And here also I like to include education. Those who want to go far in life, they always invest in themselves. So education should be a dedicated pot. Books, coaching, workshops, seminars, anything that helps you in qualifications, anything that helps you in your career, personal life, anything, inshallah. So there should be a dedicated pot for education. Now, with investing, important caveat, some of us may have debts, so that needs to be cleared first before you start investing. There's no point investing in the stock market, in crypto, in this and that when you got debts. That needs to be cleared first. Islamically, that's a priority, so we do that. So here, let's say you use the remainder of your money, 40% you spend on yourself. And then the final one, we call this service. This is the final 10%. This is sadaqah, supporting your local masjid, supporting a project, starting a project yourself. This could be giving charity or supporting a relative, a family member, anything that is outside. It's giving, essentially, altruistic giving. That's 10%. So now we know that we have 3 pots. We need to figure out what the percentages are going to be. And the main one is this. If I need 80% of my income to cover my family expenses, my rent, my bills, 1 or 2 family holidays, my savings, my food, eating out once a week, perfect. I know that I've got 20% to play with, so I might do 15% here and I might do 5% here, okay? And then you also need to know what these numbers are. And those numbers you need to stick to, okay? You need to stick to the numbers. Okay, so this is actually level 1. Islam is so beautiful, there are levels to the game. This is level 1. This is how a Muslim manages his money. I'm now going to show you how a muhsin manages, a mu'min. Muhsin is the 3rd level. A mu'min, a believer, how should he manage his money? It's actually a little bit different. So that's going to be level 2. So once you've achieved this and you've done this for, let's say, a year, you can then graduate to level 2. So now I'm going to show you how the mu'min, the believer, manages their money. Okay, still same principle applies. First priority is your obligation to your family. Let's assume that's 50%. Next thing is again yourself, no problem. And then the 3rd priority is going to be service. What's the difference? The difference now is that you're now splitting the remainder of your money equally between yourself and sadaqah. You're not spending more on yourself and giving less in sadaqah. You're spending the same amount. If I'm spending £1,000 on myself, my own investments, my own education, my car, my playing paddle, playing football, the same amount I'm going to allocate for serving people, for serving creation, for serving the deen. That's how a believer manages their money, and this brings immense blessings. Ready for level 3? Yeah? Okay. So now, level 3. And by the way, you will not find this information anywhere else. You will not find this information anywhere else. This is now how the muhsin, someone who's at the pinnacle of excellence of faith, Someone who's practicing ihsan and excellence, this is how the flip now is that yourself, priority is still there, but is gone significantly down. What I mean by that is you give yourself much less than what you give others. This is the flip of the level one. In level one, we had majority of the remainder goes to me, the 10% goes to charity. This is the flip. I keep only 10% for myself, and the majority of the money that is spare after I've taken care of my family is fi sabilillah. That's the level. This is how a muhsin manages their money, mashallah. Now, once you do this, now don't try and jump to this. Yeah, I know you're all very, very spiritually charged right now, but don't try to jump to this. Work through the levels. So let's start with number one. And number one is hard enough to basically make sure that all of your family necessities are covered. Then if there's anything left over, that you take care of yourself and leave a little bit for charity. Let's start like that. And many people watching this may feel like, especially the third level, it's weird to actually, it doesn't make sense. Wouldn't you want to put more money towards investing so you have more wealth, more money towards education so you can, inshallah, add more value to the world? But actually, when you deprioritize yourself and you give preference to others, something very special happens, which is the barakah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter your life, your affairs, everything that you do, and automatically the whole pie will keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's all we've got time for. Inshallah, I hope you enjoyed. Barakallah feekum. Let me know if you have any questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
What sort of indications are you likely to see to point you in the right direction that you are doing or you're on the right path in terms of, identifying barakah? What does that look like? How do I know that I'm doing the right thing with my money?
So if you follow this, you are doing the right thing with your money.
But are there any tangible signs?
The tangible signs is, have you taken care of your family completely? Have you got an emergency fund? Have you got your holidays planned out within budget? Not just suddenly thinking, I feel like going on holiday. That, then making sure that you're if you have money left over, that you're doing these things properly. And there should be a budget allocated. Like every month, how much is going towards investments? How much is going towards play is important. We like playing football, playing paddle, playing golf, playing basketball, whatever. We like meeting friends, having dinner with friends. That should have an allocated budget so you don't feel guilty when you do it. So once you do all of this, then automatically you start seeing things become easy. Now what I'm saying is, once you're at a stage, so these proportions can change. And once you're at a stage where you're giving to others has surpassed what you need to spend on your family and on yourself, that's a really good place to be. When your giving is significantly more than what you spend on yourself. That's like the ultimate goal. But in terms of, to answer your question, is like, what are the tangible signs? The tangible signs are you've got everything on locks. And I have to admit, I don't have every single bit on lock. I've got a good system. But before learning this, my finances were a mess. Absolute mess. I was deprioritizing myself. I was giving too much to family and too much to others. I didn't have emergency fund, a rainy day fund, and there's another word for it. It was a mess. There was a lot of money coming in, but a lot of money going out. And there was nothing to show for it. So this is so important. Whether you have £1 of income or £1 million of income, this managing money is really, really, really important.
Sorry, brother, just finally. How do you move to the next steps naturally, or do you sort of have to identify and make those changes yourself? in terms of the proportionality of how
That's a
you
good question. That's a good question. So once you've been at level 1 for a while, I think it's obviously a good idea to push yourself a bit and be like, you know what, let me now, I'm comfortable with this. Let me now try to spend a bit more on the giving. So let me go from 10% to 15%. Let me go 15% to 20%. You push yourself. You know, you're constantly, so someone who's good with their money, they would know the percentages every month. They would know properly. Like, okay, this month, alhamdulillah, 10% of my income went for giving. Most of us don't know. We might know the direct debit amount, but we don't know what percentage of our income is that actually. Some people actually think that they're giving a lot, but proportional to their income, it's only 2%. You don't even feel it. So is that really the best kind of giving that you can give? So yeah, alhamdulillah. There's a lot that we can talk about, but we need to move on to the next session. So inshallah.